Young billionaire kicks a cardboard box on the sidewalk, but when he hears a voice from inside, he panics. Noah Larson pushed the revolving door of the corporate building as if he were running from something. The freezing December wind cut his face instantly, but he didn't even notice. He was used to the cold, both outside and within. The meeting had been a disaster. 4 hours of useless discussions, executives bickering over trifles, decisions that could have been made in 10 minutes. Noah left with a pounding headache in his temples and a desire to break something. The entire day had been like that. Problems piled on problems, incompetent people, contracts gone wrong. He was 29 with more money than he could count, but sometimes he felt like he was living someone else's life, an empty, meaningless life where nothing truly mattered. Walking through the streets of Manhattan, Noah felt the day's stress weighing on his shoulders. The cold wind bit at his face, but he didn't care. He was angry at work, angry at people, angry at himself. That's when he saw the box. It was tossed on the sidewalk, leaning against a trash can. Brown cardboard, wet from the rain. More rubbish in an already littered city, as if the world wasn't messy enough. The day's frustration exploded all at once. Noah stopped, looked at the box as if it were to blame for all his problems, and gave it a hard kick. The sound that came from inside was not what he expected. It wasn't the sound of old papers or empty cans. It was different, softer, as if something had stirred inside. Noah stood still, watching. The box was quiet again, but he was sure of what he'd heard. Something alive. Must be a cat, he thought, or a rat, or any animal that lived on the streets. He took another step to move away, but stopped again. The sound came back, quieter this time, almost like a whimper. He looked around. The street was empty, only a few lit windows, cars passing far away, the constant hum of the city no one else had heard. Noah crouched down slowly. The box was closed, but loosely. The top flaps were folded over each other, no tape, no glue, easy to open. He hesitated. It wasn't his problem. He didn't meddle in other people's lives, and they didn't meddle in his. That's how it worked. That's how it had always worked. But his hands were already moving. When he opened the box, the world stopped. Inside was a child. A small girl, curled up in a fetal position, wearing clothes that had once been white but were now grey with dirt. Her brown hair matted to her face, her thin arms wrapped around her own body. She was trembling. Even unconscious, she was trembling. Noah knelt on the sidewalk, staring in disbelief. The girl couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Maybe 5. It was impossible to be sure with her like that, so small, so fragile. "What the hell?" he whispered. He carefully touched her face. Her skin was freezing, too cold. Her lips were bluish, and he could see her breath coming out in small white clouds. For a second, Noah thought about calling the police, or an ambulance, or both. Someone who knew what to do. Someone who was trained for this, but she stirred. It was just a small movement, almost imperceptible. Her head turned slightly to the side, as if looking for a more comfortable position. And Noah saw that she was waking up. He had no time to think, no time to plan, no time to do the right thing or the wrong thing. He simply picked her up. The girl weighed almost nothing. It was like carrying an injured bird. Noah wrapped her in his own coat, feeling how cold she was, how her body fit against his chest in a way that made something strange happen in his stomach. Urgency. For the first time in his life, Noah Larson felt real urgency. Not the false urgency of business, deadlines, important meetings. This was different. It was physical. It was necessary. He started to run. The streets of Manhattan blurred into a sequence of lights. Cars, people, traffic lights. Everything became one as Noah ran with the girl in his arms. His lungs burned, his heart pounded uncontrollably, but he didn't stop. The nearest hospital was 8 blocks away. Noah knew because he'd passed it millions of times, always by car, always looking over it. Now he was running towards it as if someone's life depended on it. And it did. The girl stirred again halfway there. This time she opened her eyes, large, dark, confused. She looked at him without understanding, without fear, just looked. "It's okay," Noah said, not knowing if it was true. "I'm going to help you." She closed her eyes again. St. Mary's Hospital was crowded even at that hour of the night. Fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant, people hurrying back and forth with the organized haste of those who work saving lives. Noah ran in, still carrying the girl. "I need help," he shouted at the receptionist. "I found her on the street. She's very cold, I think." He didn't need to finish. A nurse appeared out of nowhere, saw the situation, and immediately called other professionals. In seconds, the girl was on a stretcher being wheeled inside. Someone put an oxygen mask on her face. Someone checked her vital signs. Someone shouted numbers Noah didn't understand. He stood in the hallway, watching everything happen through a glass door. His arms were still in the position of someone carrying something, even empty. "Sir?" Noah turned. It was a young nurse, with blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. "I need some information about the child. Her name, age, who her parents are." "I don't know." The nurse blinked. "What do you mean you don't know? I found her in a box, on the street. I don't know who she is." The nurse's expression changed. Noah saw compassion, concern, and something that looked like suspicion. "You found her in a box?" "Yes. I was walking and heard a noise. When I opened it, she was there." "And you brought her here?" It wasn't a question. It was an observation, as if the nurse was trying to figure out if Noah was telling the truth or making up some wild story. "Yes, she was unconscious and very cold." The nurse made some notes on a clipboard. "I'll need your name and contact information for the report." Noah gave the details automatically. Name, address, phone number, things he said so many times a day that they came out without thinking. "You can wait in the waiting room. As soon as we have more information about her condition, someone will speak with you." "How is she?" The question came out before Noah could control himself. The nurse looked at him differently, more gently. "The doctors are examining her now. It appears to be hypothermia and malnutrition, but we'll confirm. You did the right thing bringing her here." Noah nodded and went to the waiting room. The place was almost empty. Only an elderly man sleeping in a chair and a woman flipping through an old magazine. Noah sat in a blue plastic chair and for the first time in hours stopped to think about what had happened. He had found a child in a box, an abandoned child nearly frozen to death on the streets of New York. And instead of calling the authorities, instead of doing what any sensible person would do, he picked her up and brought her to the hospital as if she were what? Her father, a relative, a stranger who cared. Noah had never cared about anything beyond his own interests. That's how he was raised. That's how he lived. You take care of yourself and let the rest of the world fend for itself. Everyone has their own problems. But when he saw that girl in the box, something changed. Something he couldn't explain or understand. It was as if a key had turned inside him, opening a door he didn't even know existed. "Mr. Larkson," Noah looked up. It was a young doctor in a white coat and a serious expression. "Yes. I'm Dr. Martinez. I'm taking care of the child you brought in." "How is she?" "Stable, for now. She had moderate hypothermia and clear signs of malnutrition. She must have gone at least a few weeks without adequate food, maybe longer." Noah felt something tighten in his chest. "Will she be okay?" "Yes, but she'll need to stay hospitalized for a few days. We want to monitor her body temperature and start a gradual nutritional program." "And then?" "Doctor." Martinez hesitated. "Well, that depends. We'll have to notify social services. A child in these conditions, found alone, it's protocol." "Social services?" "They will investigate the situation, look for the parents, try to understand how she ended up on the streets. If they don't find family, she'll go to a shelter until they can find a foster family." Noah nodded, but something inside him completely rejected the idea. The girl in a shelter, the girl with strangers, the girl away. Away from what? From him. It made no sense. He didn't even know her. "Can I see her?" The doctor seemed surprised. "You want to see her?" "Yes." "Well, she's sleeping, and you're not family. I'm the one who brought her in. Dr. Martinez looked at him for a moment, as if trying to decide something. All right, but only for a few minutes. The room was small and white. The girl was in bed, connected to some machines that constantly beeped. Thick blankets covered her up to her neck. Her face was less pale now, and her breathing seemed more regular. Noah approached slowly. Up close, she seemed even smaller, even more fragile. Her hair had been cleaned, and now he could see it was brown with golden highlights. Her small hands rested on the blanket, relaxed. She was beautiful. In a way that made you want to protect, care for, shield from the world. Noah stood there just watching. He didn't know why, but he felt responsible. As if because he had found her, because he had brought her to safety, now she was... What was she? His responsibility, his concern, his... The thought appeared out of nowhere and startled him. He shook his head, trying to shake off the silly idea. He didn't even know her name. He knew nothing about her except that she was in a box, alone, almost dead. But when he looked at her again, the feeling returned. Stronger. Mr. Larkson. Noah turned. It was the blonde nurse from before. Social services are here. They want to speak with you. Noah looked one last time at the girl in bed. She was still sleeping, looking so small in that hospital bed. I'm coming. The social worker's name was Mrs. Thompson. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and an expression that mixed efficiency with weary compassion. She had a folder full of papers and a pen that kept clicking. You found the child in a cardboard box? Yes. On what street exactly? Noah gave the approximate address. Mrs. Thompson wrote everything down. And you didn't see anyone else around? No adults who might have been with her? No. The street was empty. Do you have any idea how long she had been there? No. When I found her, she was unconscious. Mrs. Thompson continued asking questions. Exact time, description of the location, whether Noah had touched anything else besides the child. Practical, objective questions that turned what had happened into a sequence of facts to be investigated. We'll have to search for the parents, she finally said. Check missing persons records, talk to other homeless people, that kind of thing. And if you don't find them, she'll go to a temporary shelter until we can find a foster family. There was the word again, shelter. Noah imagined the girl in a place full of other children, sharing rooms, eating at set times, just one more on a list. How long does that take? Mrs. Thompson shrugged. It depends. Young children are usually adopted faster, but, well, this one might have some trauma. It could take a bit longer. Trauma? Mr. Larkson, a 4-year-old child doesn't end up in a box by accident. Something very bad happened to her. Noah felt that tightening in his chest again. Can I keep her until you find her parents? The question came out before he could think. Mrs. Thompson stopped writing and looked at him. What do you mean? While you investigate, instead of putting her in a shelter, she can stay with me. You want temporary guardianship of her? Yes, I think so. Mrs. Thompson put her pen on the table. Mr. Larkson, do you understand that this involves background checks, home visits, interviews, and that the child may have special needs considering what she's been through? Noah hadn't thought about any of that. In fact, he hadn't thought it through properly. The idea had simply appeared and come out of his mouth before he could control it. I can give her everything she needs. It's not about money, it's about care, attention, emotional stability. Mrs. Thompson studied him for a moment. Do you have experience with children? No. Are you married? Do you have children? No. Close family who can help? No. With each answer, Noah saw his chances diminishing. Mrs. Thompson was right. He knew nothing about caring for children. He lived alone and worked 16 hours a day, had no experience with anything that wasn't making money. I'll be honest with you, Mrs. Thompson said. It's very difficult to get temporary guardianship without prior experience, especially for a single man, especially in a situation like this. Noah nodded. It was obvious, it was logical, it was sensible, but when he thought about the girl waking up alone in a shelter, surrounded by strangers, with no one she knew. Never mind, he said. It was a silly idea. Mrs. Thompson put her papers back in the folder. We will investigate the case. If we need more information, we'll contact you. She stood up to leave, but stopped. Mr. Larkson, what you did today was admirable. Many people would have just walked past. After she left, Noah was alone in the waiting room again. It was almost 2 in the morning and the hospital was quieter. Only the distant sound of medical equipment and occasional footsteps in the hallway. He should go home, take a shower, get some sleep, go back to his normal life. Tomorrow, Mrs. Thompson and her team would take care of everything. The girl would be fine. She would be cared for by professionals who knew what they were doing, but his feet wouldn't move. Instead, Noah got up and went back to her room. The girl was still sleeping. The machines kept beeping. The blankets continued to wrap her like a protective cocoon. Noah sat in the chair beside the bed. He didn't know why. He didn't know how long he would stay. He just knew he couldn't leave. That's when she woke up. First, it was just her eyes moving beneath her eyelids. Then a small movement of her head. Finally, she slowly opened her eyes, blinking a few times until she could focus. When she saw Noah, she didn't seem scared. She didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't try to hide. She just looked at him with a calm curiosity. "Hi," Noah said softly. She looked at him for a few more seconds before answering. "Hi." Her voice was small, hoarse, but clear. Noah leaned forward slightly. "How are you feeling?" She thought about the question as if it were a complicated thing to answer. "I'm not cold anymore." It was the first time Noah had truly heard her speak. Her voice was sweet, but there was something in it that wasn't common in children, a kind of ancient seriousness. "Son, that's good. You were very cold when I found you." "Was it you who found me?" "It was." She studied him more carefully. "Thank you for helping me." The simplicity of the phrase made something stir in Noah's chest. She was thanking him. After all she had been through, after being abandoned in a box like trash, she was thanking him. "Why were you in the box?" She was quiet for a moment, looking at the ceiling. "It was very cold. That's why I went into the box." Noah waited, but she didn't say anything else. "And where were you before? Where is your home?" "I don't have a home." The answer was so direct it hurt. Noah swallowed hard. "And your parents? Your mum, your dad?" "My mum left." "Left how?" She looked at him again. There was something in her eyes that was too old for her age. "We lived on the street. She said she was going to look for food and didn't come back. Then I was alone." Noah felt the world spin a little. A 4-year-old child, alone on the streets. Looking for food, looking for shelter, looking for warmth, until she found a cardboard box and decided that was better than nothing. "How long were you alone?" She shrugged. "I don't know. A lot of days. I counted, but then I stopped." Jesus. Noah ran a hand through his hair, trying to process the information. Weeks, maybe longer. A 4-year-old girl, alone, surviving as best she could. "Are you hungry?" "Always." The answer came too quickly, as if it were a permanent state. "I'll ask the nurse to bring you something." "Can you?" "Of course." She smiled for the first time. A small, somewhat shy but real smile. "What's your name?" Noah asked. "Ellie." "Ellie. That's pretty. And you?" "Noah." She repeated the name a few times, as if testing how it sounded. "Noah. I like it." They were silent for a few minutes. Ellie looked around the room with curiosity, touching the blankets, observing the machines. "Is this a hospital?" she asked. "It is." "They're going to take care of you." "And then?" The question Noah had been avoiding. He didn't know what to say. He couldn't lie to her, but he also couldn't explain about social services, shelters, investigations. Not to a 4-year-old who had already been through too much. "Then you'll be in a safe place." "With you?" The question was asked with so much innocence, so much natural hope, that Noah felt as if someone had punched him in the stomach. I don't know." Ellie looked at him for a moment, then nodded as if she understood. "It's okay. You've already helped me." And that's when it happened. Seeing her there, so small, so brave, so used to disappointment that she no longer expected anything from anyone, that's when something broke inside Noah. For the first time in his life, he truly cared about something. Not because of money, Not because of power, not because of ego. He cared because that child had touched a part of him he didn't even know existed. The part that wanted to protect someone. The part that wanted to care. The part that wanted to stay. Ellie? Do you want me to stay here with you tonight? She looked at him in surprise, as if she couldn't believe he had asked that. Can you? I can. This time the smile was bigger. She snuggled deeper into the blankets and closed her eyes. Thank you, Noah. Noah leaned back in the chair and watched her fall asleep. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about meetings, about business, about problems that needed to be solved. He was just there. Present. Necessary. And when Ellie finally fell asleep, a small hand half hidden under the blanket, Noah knew something had changed forever. He didn't know exactly what, or how, or what he was going to do about it, but he knew he wasn't leaving, not tonight, and maybe not tomorrow either. For the first time in his life, Noah Larkson had found something more important than himself. 3 days. That's all the time Noah got with Ellie at the hospital before Mrs. Thompson returned. She appeared at the room door with the same folder of papers and the same efficient expression as before. But this time, she wasn't alone. A man in a grey suit accompanied her, carrying a briefcase that looked overly important. Mr. Larkson, Mrs. Thompson said, this is Mr. Davidson from the Child Welfare Department. Noah was sitting in the chair next to Ellie's bed, where he had spent most of the last 3 days. She was awake, colouring in a book a nurse had brought, but she stopped when she saw the visitors. Ellie, Mrs. Thompson approached the bed with a smile that tried to be comforting. How are you feeling? Ellie looked at Noah before answering, as if asking for permission. Good. That's good. You really are much better. Mrs. Thompson turned to Noah. The doctor said she can be discharged today. Great, Noah said, but something in the woman's tone put him on alert. Davidson stepped forward. Mr. Larkson, we have prepared a placement at St. Joseph's Children's Shelter for Ellie. It's an excellent institution with trained professionals and other children her age. The words hit Noah like a punch. He knew this moment would come, but somehow he had convinced himself that maybe a shelter, it's standard procedure. Mrs. Thompson explained. We're still investigating the case, looking for family members, but in the meantime, she needs a suitable place to stay. Noah looked at Ellie. She had completely stopped colouring and was looking between the adults with an expression he now knew well. It was the same expression as when she talked about her mother leaving. Resignation. As if she already knew people always ended up leaving. What if she stayed with me? The words came out before Noah could think straight. Mrs. Thompson and Davidson exchanged a look. Mr. Larkson, Davidson said, we've discussed this. You have no experience with children. You haven't undergone any evaluations. I can undergo any evaluation you want. It's not just that. A traumatized child like Ellie needs specialized care, professionals who understand. She doesn't want to go to a shelter. Everyone looked at Ellie. She had her head down, fiddling with her crayon. Ellie, Mrs. Thompson said gently, how about meeting other children? At the shelter. There are girls and boys your age, toys, a big room to play in. Ellie didn't answer. She just huddled a little further into the bed. Noah felt something burn in his chest. Anger, frustration, and something else he couldn't name. It was as if they were trying to rip a part of him away. How long does it take to get temporary guardianship? Davidson sighed. Mr. Larkson, I'll be direct. Single men rarely get custody of young children, especially in cases like this. Statistics show... I don't care about statistics, Noah interrupted him. I want to know what I need to do. Mrs. Thompson looked at him with a different expression. Less professional, more human. Are you sure about this? Taking care of a child is a full-time responsibility, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She will need school, a doctor, clothes, proper nutrition. And more than that, she will need attention, affection, emotional stability. I can give her all of that. With what experience? Noah looked at Ellie again. She had raised her head and was looking at him with something that looked like hope, cautious hope, as if she didn't want to be disappointed again. With the experience of wanting to try? Silence stretched in the room. Davidson fidgeted with his papers, clearly uncomfortable. Mrs. Thompson studied Noah as if trying to read something in him. "It would have to be temporary guardianship," she finally said, "while we investigate the case, and with regular visits from our professionals." "That's fine. And background checks, home visits, psychological interviews. That's fine. And if at any time we consider that it's not working, it will work." Mrs. Thompson looked at Davidson, who shook his head in disapproval. She sighed. "I'll need a lot more documentation. Proof of income, personal and professional references, medical report." "How long?" "A week, maybe 2. Noah's heart sank. 2 weeks of Ellie in a shelter. 2 weeks of her thinking he had left too. "What if I submit everything today?" Davidson laughed. "Mr. Larkson, these processes take time." "It's not possible." "It is possible," Noah said, pulling out his phone. "If it's a matter of paperwork, I can get everything today." He started dialing numbers, lawyers, accountants, doctors, people who worked for him, who owed him favors, who could make things happen. In 15 minutes, he had mobilized half a dozen professionals to prepare all the necessary documents. Mrs. Thompson listened, impressed. "Mr. Larkson, even if you get all the paperwork, we still need to do the visits, the interviews. Do them today. Today. Now. I can pay overtime for whoever is necessary. I can pay for transportation. I can pay whatever it takes. But she's not going to a shelter." Davidson was red with indignation. "That's not how things work. There are protocols, procedures. There are emergencies too," Noah said. "And if you thought a child in a cardboard box was enough of an emergency to mobilize everyone in a hurry, then a child who doesn't want to go to a shelter should be too." Mrs. Thompson looked at Ellie, who was following the conversation with wide eyes. "Ellie," she said, "do you want to stay with Noah?" Ellie looked at Noah, then back at Mrs. Thompson. For a moment, Noah was afraid of the answer. What if she said no? What if she preferred to go to the shelter with other children instead of staying with a stranger she had known for 3 days? "Can I?" The question was asked with so much hope, it made Noah's heart ache. "If everything goes well with the documentation," Mrs. Thompson said. "Yes." Ellie smiled, the first big smile Noah had seen from her. "Then I want to?" Davidson tried to protest a little more, but Mrs. Thompson was already picking up the phone. In 2 hours, half of the Child Welfare Department was at the hospital checking documents, conducting interviews, and preparing the paperwork for temporary guardianship. Noah went through the interviews as if he were in an important business meeting. He answered all questions, signed all papers, gave all the information requested. And when Mrs. Thompson finally said him approved, he felt a relief he didn't know was possible. "It's temporary," she stressed once more. "Initial 60 days, renewable depending on the case's progress." "Understood. And we'll make weekly visits." "That's fine. And if there's any problem," and there won't be. 2 hours later, Noah was leaving the hospital with Ellie. She was wearing clothes a nurse had found for her, small jeans and a pink top that was a bit too big. She carried a plastic bag with the drawings she had made in the past few days. In the taxi, she was glued to the window, watching the city pass by. She didn't say much, but Noah could feel her nervous energy. She was going to a stranger's home, to a place she had never seen, with someone she had known for only a few days. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, but kept looking out the window. Noah's apartment was on the Upper East Side, on the 22nd floor of a building with a view of Central Park. It was large, modern, filled with expensive furniture and artwork he never really stopped to look at. It was the kind of place that impressed clients and colleagues. But when he opened the door for Ellie, Noah saw the apartment through her eyes. Cold, empty, too quiet. "Is this where you live?" she asked, walking slowly through the entrance hall. "It is. Now it's where you live too." She continued exploring, touching things carefully, as if afraid of breaking something. She stopped in front of the large window overlooking the city. "It's very high up." "It is, but it's safe." She nodded, accepting the explanation. Noah took her to see the apartment, the modern kitchen he hardly ever used, the living room with white sofas that looked more like decorations than places to sit. the office full of papers and computers, and finally, the guest room he had decided would be hers. It had a single bed, a dresser, a chair, everything very clean, very organized, very impersonal. "This is your room," he said. Ellie walked in slowly, looking around. She placed her bag on the bed and stood in the middle of the room, as if she didn't know what to do. "Don't you like it?" "I do. It's very big." Noah looked at the room again. It was a normal room, perhaps even small by his standards, but for a child who had slept in a cardboard box. "Do you want me to take some things out? To make it smaller?" She shook her head. "No, I'll just get used to it." The rest of the afternoon passed in a strange mix of formality and attempts at normalcy. Noah showed her where the food was, how the TV worked, where the bathroom was. Ellie followed him around the house, observing everything carefully, but speaking little. At dinner time, Noah realized he had nothing suitable for a child. He opened the refrigerator and found water, wine, some leftover Chinese food, and expired yogurt. "What kind of food do you like?" he asked. Ellie shrugged. "Anything." "No, seriously. What do you want for dinner?" She thought for a moment. "Pasta?" "Pasta. Right." Noah ordered Italian food from a restaurant he knew. When it arrived, they sat at the dining table, a table too large for 2 people, and ate in silence. Ellie ate slowly, chewing carefully, as if she still couldn't believe the food was truly hers. Every now and then she would look at Noah, as if checking if everything was okay. "Is it good?" he asked. "It is. Thank you." After dinner, they went to the living room. Noah turned on the TV and looked for a cartoon channel. Ellie sat on the sofa, but right on the edge, as if she didn't want to take up too much space. "You can sit properly," Noah said. "The sofa is for sitting." She settled in better, but still kept her distance. Noah sat on the other side of the sofa, leaving space between them. They watched TV for an hour. Or rather, Ellie watched and Noah pretended to watch while actually observing her. The way she chuckled softly at funny parts, how she cringed during parts that seemed scary, how she looked at him from time to time as if checking if he was still there. When it started to get dark outside, Noah realized he wasn't sure what a 4-year-old's routine was. "Are you sleepy?" he asked. Ellie shook her head, but he noticed she was rubbing her eyes. "Do you want to take a bath before bed?" She nodded. The bath was an adventure. Noah had never bathed a child in his life. Ellie insisted she could wash herself, but he stayed outside the door, worried she might slip or drown or something. When she came out of the bathroom, wearing a bathrobe that was huge on her, Noah realized he hadn't bought pajamas. "You can sleep in your clothes tonight," he said. "Tomorrow, we'll buy pajamas." "Okay." They went to her room. Noah had made the bed with clean sheets and added extra pillows. It looked comfortable and inviting. Ellie lay down on the bed, but she remained somewhat stiff, as if she didn't know how to get comfortable. "Do you want me to leave the light on?" Noah asked. "You can." He left the bedside lamp on. "And the door, open or closed?" "Open." Noah stood at the door for a moment, not knowing what else to do. In movies, parents tell stories or sing songs, but he didn't know any suitable stories and he certainly couldn't sing. "Do you need anything else?" "No, thank you." "Then, good night." "Good night, Noah." He went to his own room, but couldn't sleep. He lay staring at the ceiling, thinking about the girl in the next room. Was she scared? Was she regretting coming? Had he done the right thing? Around midnight, he heard a noise. He got up and went to check. Ellie wasn't in bed. For a second, Noah panicked. What if she had run away? What if she had decided she preferred the streets? What if... He found her on the floor, next to the bed, curled up in the blanket. She was sleeping, breathing slowly and deeply. Noah watched for a moment, trying to understand. The bed was made warm, comfortable. Why was she sleeping on the floor? Then he understood. A bed was a luxury. A bed was something that could be taken away at any moment. The floor was safe. The floor was what she knew. He slowly crouched down, took an extra blanket from the closet, and carefully placed it over her, trying not to wake her. Ellie stirred a little, but continued to sleep. "Good night, little one," he whispered. In the following days, Noah discovered that caring for a child was completely different from anything he had ever done in his life. There was no instruction manual, no weekly reports, no clear goals to achieve. Ellie still spoke little. She answered when he asked something, thanked him for food, for bathing, for the new clothes he bought, but she rarely initiated conversations or asked for anything. What she did was observe everything all the time. She watched how Noah made coffee in the morning, how he talked on the phone, how he got nervous when things didn't go as planned, how he sat on the sofa to watch TV, and then she started to imitate him. On the second day, Noah found her sitting on the kitchen floor, watching him make coffee. On the third day, she sat in the chair next to him while he checked emails. On the fourth day, when he went to the sofa to watch the news, she sat beside him, not right next to him. She kept a safe distance, but close enough to see him, to know he was there. It was as if she had decided that the safest way to exist in that new space was by following Noah. Wherever he went, she went. Whatever he did, she watched, as if he were an anchor in a storm. And Noah began to realize that he liked it. He liked having her around. He liked knowing that when he looked sideways, she would be there. He liked the strange responsibility of knowing that someone depended on him for more than money or business decisions. She depended on him for safety, for food, for not leaving. "Do you want to watch something specific?" he asked one night, when he realized that for a week they had only watched what he chose. Ellie shook her head. "I like what you like, but you can choose too. It's your home now." She looked at him with a serious expression. "Is it really my home?" The question made something tighten in Noah's chest. He realized that for her, nothing was guaranteed. Home, food, safety. Everything could disappear at any moment because it had disappeared before. "Yes, it is," he said. "Your home." She smiled and snuggled a little closer on the sofa. "So I can choose the channel sometimes." "You can choose whenever you want." That night, they watched cartoons until Ellie fell asleep, leaning against his arm. Noah remained motionless for almost an hour, afraid to wake her, feeling her small, warm weight against his chest. When he finally carried her to her room, she didn't wake up. And for the first time since she arrived, she slept in the bed all night. Noah stood at the door for a few minutes, watching her sleep. So small, so confident now, so his. That was it. He didn't know when it had happened, but it had. Ellie was his responsibility, his concern, his family. And he discovered that he didn't want it to be any different. Mrs. Thompson could talk all she wanted about temporary guardianship and procedures. Davidson could cite all the statistics he knew about single men and traumatized children. But there, in that room, watching Ellie sleep safe and warm in a real bed, Noah knew he had found something he didn't know he was looking for. He had found a reason to wake up in the morning that had nothing to do with money or power. He had found someone who needed him as much as he needed her. And for the first time in his life, Noah Larkson felt completely, truly necessary. The second week began with Noah realizing that he knew absolutely nothing about taking care of a child. Like, nothing at all. On Monday morning, he woke up to Ellie knocking on his bedroom door. "Noah, I'm hungry." He looked at the clock, 6:30 in the morning. Never in his life had he woken up so early by choice. But there she was, standing at the door, her hair all messy and her clothes wrinkled from sleeping. "Okay, let's make breakfast." Noah went to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. It was still practically empty. He had some fruit he'd bought the day before, yogurt, and that was it. "What do you usually eat for breakfast?" he asked. Ellie shrugged. "Whatever there is." This answer was starting to bother Noah. Not because it was difficult, but because it was obvious she had learned not to expect much from life. "No, seriously, what do you like to eat?" She thought for a moment. "Cereal? Cereal, right." Noah looked at the cabinets. There was no cereal, no milk, nothing a normal child would eat for breakfast. "Let's go out and buy some," he said. The supermarket at 7 in the morning was a new world for Noah, full of people rushing around, buying groceries for the week, grabbing coffee on their way to work. He had never noticed it, because he had never been in a supermarket at that hour. In fact, he was rarely in a supermarket at any hour. Ellie was impressed by the size of the place. She walked glued to the cart Noah pushed, looking at everything with wide eyes. "There's a lot of food here," she said. "Yes, you can choose whatever you want." They went to the cereal aisle first. Noah stood in front of the shelves, looking at dozens of colorful boxes. How did anyone choose among so many options? "Which one do you want?" Ellie looked at all the options, clearly lost as well. "I don't know. Which one is best?" "I don't know. I've never bought cereal." She looked at him in surprise. "Never. Never." "What do you eat for breakfast?" Noah thought. What did he eat for breakfast? Coffee, usually. Sometimes nothing. Sometimes something his assistant bought. "Coffee," he said. "Just coffee." "Sometimes a fruit." Ellie seemed to find that very strange. "Don't you get hungry?" "I get used to it." She nodded as if she understood perfectly. One more thing they had in common, getting used to less. But today was different. Today they were going to choose cereal. Ellie pointed to a box with a colorful character. "So that looks yummy. Then let's get that one." Noah tossed the box into the cart and they continued walking. Milk, fruit, bread, eggs. Basic things he had never thought of having at home because he always ate out or ordered delivery. When they got home, Noah realized he had another problem. He didn't know how to prepare anything. He opened the cereal box and poured it into a bowl. He grabbed the milk and spilled half of it on the counter. "Damn," he said, and immediately regretted it. "Sorry, I shouldn't curse around you." Ellie giggled. It was a small laugh, just a puff of air, but it was the first time Noah had heard her truly laugh. Not a polite smile or a response to what he said. A real laugh. "I can help you," she said. And then something strange happened. Noah, who ran companies, who made decisions that moved millions of dollars, who commanded meetings with dozens of executives, let a 4-year-old girl teach him how to pour milk into cereal. Ellie climbed onto a chair to reach the counter and held the milk carton with both small hands. "Slowly," she said, concentrating. "Just a little bit at a time." She poured the milk carefully, stopping when it reached the right amount. Then she took a spoon from the drying rack and handed it to him. "Done." "Thank you," Noah said. "You're good at that. I learned from my mom. She said you had to be careful not to waste." It was the first time Ellie had mentioned her mother without being asked. Noah remained quiet, waiting to see if she would continue. They sat at the table and ate in silence for a few minutes. The cereal was too sweet for Noah's taste, but he didn't say anything. It was what Ellie had chosen, so it was what they were going to eat. "Noah, did you never have family?" The question caught him off guard. He stopped chewing and looked at her. "I did. My parents, but they died when I was young. Like me." "No, I was older. I was 18. "And you were alone?" "I was." Ellie thought about it for a moment. Was it sad? Noah had never really stopped to think about it. At the time, he was so busy taking care of his business, his inheritance, his entire life that changed overnight, that he didn't have time to feel. "It was," he said, "but I got used to it." "I got used to it too," Ellie said, "but I prefer not to be alone." "Me too." After breakfast, Noah realized he had another problem. Ellie had been wearing the same clothes for 3 days. He had bought some basics on the first day, but not enough. "Let's go buy you some clothes," he said. "Do we need to?" "Yes, we do. You only have 1 change of clothes." "Okay, I can wash these." Once again, her ease in accepting the minimum made Noah uncomfortable. Not because she was difficult, but because it was obvious she had learned not to ask for anything. "You deserve to have clean clothes. Lots of clothes." The mall was another new world for Ellie. She walked hand in hand with Noah, looking at everything with fascination. The stores, the window displays, the people. In the children's clothing store, the saleswoman was super friendly and helped Noah choose what a 4-year-old girl would need. Pants, shirts, dresses, pajamas, shoes, socks, underwear. "Does she need all this?" Noah asked, looking at the pile of clothes. "Children grow fast," the saleswoman said. "Boys, and they get their clothes dirty every day." Ellie was quiet throughout the process, letting Noah and the saleswoman decide. But when the woman showed her a blue dress with small flowers, Noah saw her eyes light up. "Do you like this one?" he asked. She nodded. "Let's get it." "Are you sure? It's a bit expensive for kids, my clothes." "Let's get it," Noah repeated. Back home, Ellie wanted to try on all the clothes. Noah sat on her bed and watched her parade in each new outfit, twirling to show how it looked. When she put on the blue dress, she stopped in front of the mirror and looked at herself for a long time. "Does it look pretty?" she asked. "It's beautiful," Noah said. "You look beautiful." She smiled and twirled one more time, making the skirt of the dress swirl. "I never had a dress," she said. "Never." "No. We always took clothes that people threw away, or that someone gave us." Noah felt that tightening in his chest again. The life she had led was so different from his that sometimes it seemed impossible they were in the same world. "And now you have several dresses," he said. "That's true." She sat on the bed beside him. "Noah." "What? Why are you taking care of me?" The question was simple, but Noah didn't know how to answer. Why, indeed. At first it had been impulse, then obligation. Now, "Because I want to," he finally said. "But why?" Noah looked at her. Her serious face had her big, curious eyes. She really wanted to understand. "Because you make me feel like I'm good for something," he said. Ellie tilted her head. "You weren't good for anything before." "I thought I was, but it was different." "How so?" Noah tried to find words she could understand. "Before, I did important things, but they didn't really make a difference. Now, taking care of you, that makes a difference." Ellie nodded, as if she understood perfectly. "You make a difference to me too," she said. That night, after dinner, they were watching TV when Ellie started talking about the life she had before. It wasn't forced. She simply started to tell it, as if it were just any story. "We lived in a park near a church," she said. "There was a bench where we slept, and a fountain where we washed our faces." Noah lowered the TV volume and paid attention. "During the day, we walked around looking for food. Sometimes people gave us some. Sometimes we found it in restaurant trash cans." She spoke casually, as if it were normal. As if it were just a phase of life. When it rained, we hid under the awning of a store, or in the public bathroom at the park. "Weren't you scared?" Noah asked. Ellie thought about the question. At first, no. It was kind of an adventure. "My mom said we were exploring the city, seeing new places." She snuggled closer on the sofa. "It was funny at first. We played that we were camping, that it was temporary. And then," Ellie's face grew more serious, "then it started to get hard. We couldn't find food. It was very cold. My mum was nervous all the time." Noah felt his chest tighten, imagining Ellie freezing, starving, seeing her mother despair. And then one day she said she was going to look for food and never came back. Then it got sad. The simplicity of the phrase broke something inside Noah. Then it got sad, as if all the tragedy of the situation could be summarized in those 4 words. "How long were you alone?" "I don't know. Many days. I kept waiting in the park, thinking she would come back, but she didn't." Ellie looked at Noah. "Then I went looking for her. I went to other parks and other places, but I didn't find her." "And how did you survive?" "I picked up food from the trash, drank water from the fountain, slept wherever I could." Noah tried to imagine a 4-year-old girl alone on the streets of a big city, fending for herself as best she could. The image was unbearable, until one night it was very cold and I saw the box. I thought it would be warmer inside. "And you went into the box?" "Yes, I was very sleepy and very cold. Then you found me." They were silent for a few minutes. Noah didn't know what to say. What could anyone say to a child who had been through that? "You know what's funny?" Ellie finally said. "What?" "Before, I had to look for food every day. I had to look for a place to sleep. I had to look for a place to hide from the rain." She looked around the room. "Now I don't have to look for anything. Everything is already here." Noah followed her gaze. The living room with comfortable sofas, a big TV, always the perfect temperature. The kitchen always with food. The bedroom with a soft bed and warm blankets. Things that were automatic for him. things he didn't even think about because they had always been there. "Did you always have all this?" Ellie asked. "Not always, but for a very long time." "And were you happy?" The question caught Noah by surprise. Was he happy? Before he met Ellie, did he think about happiness? Or did he only think about success, money, power? "I thought I was," he said, "but I guess I didn't know what true happiness was." "And now you know." Noah looked at her, sitting on his sofa, wearing her new dress, her hair clean and shining in the TV light, safe, cared for. "I think I'm learning." Ellie smiled. "Me too." That night, after Ellie went to sleep, Noah stayed alone in the living room thinking about what she had told him, her life before, his life now, the difference a few days could make. He always thought he had everything. A beautiful home, expensive cars, designer clothes, exclusive restaurants, trips to exotic places, important meetings, people who respected him. But talking to Ellie, Noah realized that all that abundance was empty. It was just an accumulation of things that meant nothing. He lived in a bubble of comfort that isolated him from everything that truly mattered. He had never felt real need. He had never feared not having a place to sleep or something to eat. He had never truly depended on anyone or had anyone depend on him. His life was full of everything, but empty of meaning, until now. Now he woke up thinking if Ellie was okay. He slept worrying if she was cold. He felt anxiety when she was too quiet and relief when she laughed. For the first time, Noah had something money couldn't buy. He had a reason to wake up that had nothing to do with profit or power. He had someone who needed him not for what he possessed, but for what he could give of himself. And he discovered that giving of himself was infinitely more rewarding than accumulating things. The next morning, Noah woke up to Ellie knocking on his door again. "Noah, I'm hungry." But this time he didn't feel lost. He knew exactly what to do. He went to the kitchen, took the cereal box they had chosen together, and prepared breakfast for two. And when Ellie laughed at him because he spilled milk on the table again, Noah laughed with her. For the first time in his life, Noah Larkson knew exactly where he wanted to be. Noah spent all night thinking about the conversation he had with Ellie, about the stories she told about life on the streets, about her mother who went to look for food and never came back, about the way she told all of it, without anger, without blame, just with a sadness too accepting for her age. But something bothered Noah, not the story itself, but the fact that he had never asked if Ellie wanted to look for her mother. He had assumed, like everyone else, that the woman had simply abandoned her daughter, that she had decided that caring for a child was too difficult and had left. But what if that wasn't it? What if something had happened to her? The next morning, after Ellie had breakfast and settled in the living room to watch cartoons, Noah called a private detective he had used a few times for business investigations. "Jack, it's Noah Larkson. I need a favor." Jack Morrison was a former police officer, an expert in cases that required discretion. He had helped Noah a few times with background checks on business partners, nothing too complicated. "Sure, Noah, what do you need?" "I want you to find a person, a woman, mother of a child who's living with me now." There was silence on the other end. "Living with you?" "It's a long story. The child was abandoned. I got temporary guardianship. But I want to know what happened to her mother." "Understood. Do you have any information? Name, age, last seen?" Noah realized he knew almost nothing. He didn't know Ellie's mother's name, her age, nothing beyond what the girl herself had told him. "I'll have to ask the child," he said. "Noah," Jack said in a more serious tone, "are you sure you want to stir this up? Sometimes it's better to leave the past where it is." "Maybe, but she deserves to know what happened." After hanging up, Noah watched Ellie watch TV. She was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, completely focused on the cartoon. She was wearing one of her new outfits. Her hair was brushed, her cheeks had a healthy color. She looked like a normal child, a child who had never known hunger or cold or fear. But Noah knew that beneath that appearance of normalcy, Ellie carried memories no child should have. And one of the biggest was not knowing what had happened to the only person who had cared for her. "Ellie, can I talk to you about something?" She turned off the TV and sat on the sofa next to him. Noah noticed that whenever he said he wanted to talk, she stopped everything to give him her attention, as if his words were the most important thing in the world. "It's about your mom," he said. Ellie became more serious, but didn't seem scared. "What about her?" "I was thinking, if I could try to find her." "Would you like that?" The question hung in the air between them. Ellie looked at the floor, then at the window, then back at Noah. "What do you mean, find her?" "Hire someone to look for her, to find out where she is, what happened." Ellie was quiet for a long time. Noah could practically see the thoughts going through her head. "And what if she doesn't want to see me?" she finally asked. The question broke Noah's heart. A 4-year-old already thinking about rejection. "Why wouldn't she want to see you?" "Because she left me." "Ellie, sometimes people don't leave on purpose. Sometimes things happen that they can't control." She looked at him with those big, serious eyes. "Like what?" Noah realized he was entering delicate territory. He couldn't promise that her mother hadn't abandoned her on purpose. He couldn't promise they would find her. He couldn't promise everything would be okay. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I think you deserve to know the truth." Ellie thought a little more. "If you find her, will I have to leave?" And there it was. The real fear, not of rejection, but of having to leave the only safety she had found. "No," Noah said immediately. "No matter what happens, you won't have to leave if you don't want to. Promise." "I promise." Ellie nodded slowly. "Then you can look." That afternoon, Noah sat with Ellie to gather all the information she could remember about her mother. It wasn't easy. Child memories are fragmented, especially memories of traumatic situations. Her mother's name was Sarah. Sarah Johnson, Ellie thought. She had brown hair like Ellie's, but darker. She was thin, always thin. She wore a blue jacket that was somewhat torn. Ellie remembered some places they had stayed. A park near a church with tall steeples, a park with a pond where ducks were, a street with many shops where they sometimes got food. Every detail Ellie recounted, Noah wrote down. Not because he thought it would help much in the investigation, but because he could see it was important to her. It was as if telling those memories made her mother exist again, at least in conversation. "She used to sing to me," Ellie said at one point. "When I couldn't sleep because of the noise or the cold, she would hum a song softly." "What song?" Ellie began to hum a simple melody. It had no lyrics, or at least she didn't remember the words. But the melody was sweet, comforting. "It was beautiful," Noah said. "It was. It made me feel safe." When they finished talking, Noah gave all the information to Jack. It wasn't much, but it was a start. "I'll see what I can find," Jack said. "But Noah, you need to prepare for any outcome. People who live on the streets, sometimes the stories don't end well." "I know. And you need to think about what you'll do if we find her. If she's alive, if she wants her daughter back." Noah hadn't thought about that. Throughout the conversation with Ellie, throughout the process of gathering information, he had focused only on giving her answers. He hadn't thought about what would happen next. And for the first time in his life, Noah was trying to help someone come back, not leave. His entire career had been about convincing people to sign contracts, to accept his terms, to do what he wanted. He was an expert at making people turn away from other options and choose him. But now he was doing the exact opposite. He was actively looking for someone who could take Ellie away from him. It was the most counterintuitive and most frightening thing he had ever done. And at the same time, he knew it was the right thing to do. Because if he truly loved Ellie, and he was starting to understand that yes, he loved her in a way he had never imagined possible, then he had to want what was best for her, even if it meant losing her. The investigation took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Noah waking up every day hoping for a call from Jack. 2 weeks of Ellie asking any news every afternoon when he got home from work. 2 weeks of Noah being torn between hope and terror. Finally, Jack called. "Noah, I found her." Noah's heart stopped. "You found her?" "I found out what happened to her. Can you come here?" "It's better if we talk in person." Jack's office was in a commercial building downtown. Small rooms, simple furniture, the smell of old coffee. Noah sat in the chair opposite his desk and waited. Jack opened a folder and pulled out some papers. "I found Sarah Johnson," he said. "The good news is she's alive." Noah felt relief and anxiety at the same time. "So, and the bad news?" "Well, it's complicated." Jack leaned back in his chair. "I was able to track her through shelter records. Apparently, on the same night Ellie was found in the box, Sarah collapsed on a street about 10 blocks away." "Collapsed?" "Severe hypothermia, extreme malnutrition, dehydration. She almost died. She was hospitalized for a week, then transferred to a recovery shelter." Noah tried to process the information. "So she didn't abandon Ellie on purpose?" "It doesn't seem so. According to the records, she was delirious for days talking about finding her daughter. As soon as she recovered enough, she started looking." And Jack hesitated. "And she looked for weeks. Went to all the children's shelters, police stations, hospitals, talked to other homeless people, to volunteers, to anyone who might have seen a little girl, but didn't find her. Didn't find her because you two were here, at the private hospital, and then at your house. She looked in the public system. She would never have imagined her daughter was being cared for by a billionaire on the Upper East Side." Noah felt strange. Relief, because Sarah hadn't deliberately abandoned Ellie. Tension, because now he had to figure out how to tell Ellie, and a confused feeling he couldn't name. "Where is she now?" "At a rehabilitation center in Brooklyn. Still weak, but stable. The social workers there said she talks about her daughter every day." "Does she know Ellie is okay?" "No. She's still looking." Noah was quiet for a moment, trying to organize his thoughts. "Jack, what do you think I should do?" "Honestly, I think you should tell Ellie and let her decide if she wants to see her mum. And if she does, then you'll have to figure out how to make that work." Noah went home with his head spinning. All the way, he rehearsed how he would tell Ellie. How to explain that her mother hadn't left on purpose, that she had looked for her, that she was alive but sick. When he arrived, he found Ellie in the living room drawing. She looked up when she saw him. "Any news?" Noah sat beside her. "There is." Ellie dropped her crayon and turned completely to him. "What did you find out?" Noah took a deep breath. There was no easy way to do this. "We found your mom, Ellie. She's alive." Ellie's eyes widened. For a moment she was completely still, as if she didn't know how to process the information. Alive. Alive, but she got very sick. On the same night you went into the box, she collapsed on the street. She almost died from the cold. Ellie slowly absorbed the information, so she didn't leave me on purpose. No. She went to look for food and ended up getting too sick to come back. When she got better, she started looking for you. She looked for me. For weeks. She went to all the places she could think of. She just couldn't find you because you were here, with me." Ellie was quiet for a long time. Noah could see tears forming in her eyes. "Is she still sick?" "She's getting better, but she's still weak." "Can I see her?" The question Noah had been both expecting and dreading. "You can, if you want to, but you don't have to decide now. You can think about it." Ellie shook her head. "I don't need to think. I want to see her." She threw herself into Noah's arms and began to cry. Not from sadness, he realized. From relief. "She didn't leave me," Ellie repeated between sobs. "She didn't leave on purpose." Noah held her tight, feeling the girl's chest rise and fall with her crying, and for the first time since the investigation began, he allowed himself to feel what he was truly feeling. Fear. Fear of losing her. Fear that Sarah would want to take Ellie away. Fear of living alone again in that silent apartment. But also pride. Pride in having done the right thing, even knowing it could hurt him. And love. Love for a girl who deserved to know she hadn't been abandoned. Who deserved the chance to see her mother again, even if it meant leaving him behind. For the first time in his life, Noah Larkson was learning what it meant to love someone enough to want what was best for them, regardless of the cost to himself. And even though he was afraid of what might happen, he knew he had made the right decision. Ellie deserved to know the truth, and now she did. Ellie woke up on the day of the meeting even before the sun rose. Noah found her in the kitchen, sitting at the table, already dressed in her favorite blue dress. "You haven't had breakfast," he said. "I can't eat." Noah understood. His stomach had been in knots since he woke up too. He had spent all night imagining how it would be. How would Ellie react to seeing her mother after so long? How would Sarah react to seeing her daughter well-grown, different? "Do you want to go later?" he asked. Ellie shook her head vigorously. "No, I want to go now." The rehabilitation center was in Brooklyn, in an old building that had been renovated to house people in recovery. It wasn't beautiful, but it was clean and organized. Noah had called the day before to arrange the visit. Throughout the taxi ride, Ellie remained quiet. She looked out the window, fidgeted with her fingers, took deep breaths occasionally. Noah wanted to say something to reassure her, but he didn't know what. How do you prepare a 4-year-old child to reunite with her mother after weeks of thinking she had been abandoned? Noah. What if she doesn't recognize me? I've changed a lot. It was true. In just a few weeks, Ellie had gained weight. Her hair was shiny and neatly cut. Her cheeks had a healthy color. She wore new clothes, shoes that fit. She was clean and smelled good. She was a completely different child from the one he had found in the box. "Mothers always recognize their children," he said. "How do you know?" "I just know." At the center's reception, a social worker named Linda greeted them. She was a middle-aged woman with a kind smile and a soft voice. "Sarah is waiting for you," she said to Ellie. "She's very anxious to see you." "Does she know I'm okay?" "She does, but she'll be very happy to see it with her own eyes." Linda led them down a long hallway, with doors on both sides. The place smelled of disinfectant and had that institutional silence Noah knew from hospitals. "She's still recovering," Linda explained as they walked. "She lost a lot of weight, still has some health complications, but she's much better than when she arrived." They stopped in front of a door with the number 23. "She's here," Linda said. "Do you want me to go in with you?" Ellie looked at Noah. "Do you want me to come in?" he asked. "I do." Linda knocked on the door and opened it slowly. "Sarah, they're here." The room was small and simple. A bed, a chair, a small window. And sitting on the bed, a woman too thin, with brown hair that needed a trim and eyes that widened the second they saw Ellie. "Ellie?" The voice was weak, hoarse, but filled with an emotion that made Noah's heart ache. Ellie stood at the door for a moment, just watching. Noah could feel the tension in her small body. "Mommy?" And then Sarah began to cry. Not a delicate cry, but a cry of profound relief, of despair that finally found peace. "My God," she whispered. "My God, you're well. You're beautiful." Ellie took a step forward, then another. Slowly, as if unsure if it was real. "You didn't abandon me." The question came out small, vulnerable. Sarah held out her arms. "Never," she said, her voice breaking. "Never, my love. I tried to come back, but my body wouldn't let me." And then Ellie ran. She ran into her mother's arms and threw herself onto the bed, clinging to her as if she would never let go. Sarah wrapped her in arms that seemed too fragile, but held Ellie as if she were the most precious thing in the world. Both cried. Sarah repeated, my girl," between sobs. Ellie just clung, her face buried in her mother's neck. Noah stood at the door, watching. Linda was beside him, also with watery eyes. It was beautiful. It was what Ellie deserved. It was what any child deserved. The certainty that she hadn't been abandoned, that she was loved, that someone had fought to come back for her. But even knowing that, even being happy for Ellie, Noah felt something painful stir in his chest. It wasn't jealousy, exactly. It was loss. The feeling that something that was his was returning to where it came from. "I looked for you," Sarah was saying. "I looked everywhere. I went to all the shelters, talked to everyone I met. I couldn't find you. I was with Noah," Ellie said, finally pulling back enough to look at her mother. "He found me in a box and took me to the hospital." Sarah looked at Noah for the first time. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was a gratitude in them that was almost painful to see. "You took care of her. It wasn't a question." "I did," Noah said. "Thank you." Sarah tried to get up from the bed, but Linda stopped her. "You still need to rest," Linda said gently. "I just want to thank him properly." You don't need to, Noah said. Anyone would have done the same. Sarah shook her head. No, not just anyone. Look at her. She ran a hand through Ellie's hair. She's healthy, happy. That doesn't happen by chance. They stayed in the room for another hour. Ellie talked about life in Noah's apartment, about the new clothes, about learning to make cereal, about watching TV on the big sofa. Sarah listened to everything with a mixture of joy and sadness. Joy because her daughter had been well cared for. Sadness because she had missed all those experiences. Do you like living with Noah? She asked at one point. Ellie looked at Noah, then back at her mother. I do. He's good to me. But I missed you. I missed you too. Every day. When it was time to leave, Ellie clung to her mother again. Are you staying here? For a few more weeks, until I get stronger. And then? Sarah hesitated. It was the question everyone was avoiding, but it needed to be asked. Then we'll have to figure out what to do, she said. In the taxi back, Ellie was quiet again, but it was a different silence, lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She's very thin, she finally said. She'll get better. With time and good food. She looked sad. I think she was afraid you had forgotten her. Ellie thought about it. I never forgot. Sometimes it just hurt to remember. That night, after Ellie went to sleep, Noah called Jack. How did it go? Jack asked. Well, emotional. She was happy to see her mum. And now I don't know. Noah spent the next week trying to figure out what to do. Legally, he still had temporary guardianship of Ellie. Sarah was recovering and not in a condition to care for a child. But it was obvious they both wanted to be together. The solution appeared when he was talking to Linda about the options. Sarah will need a place to stay when she leaves here, Linda said, and a job eventually. But she doesn't have money for a deposit. She doesn't have references. What if I helped? How so? Pay for an apartment, for as long as necessary. Linda seemed surprised. Mr. Larkson, that's very generous, but Sarah is proud. She might not accept charity. It's not charity. It's an investment in Ellie's future. Noah found a small apartment in Queens, 2 bedrooms, kitchen, living room. Simple, but clean and safe. It was near a good school and had a park around the corner. When he showed the place to Sarah, who was well enough to leave the center for visits, she started to cry. I can't afford this, she said. You don't need to pay now. When you're working, we'll see. Why are you doing this? Noah looked at Ellie, who was exploring the empty apartment, opening cabinets, testing faucets. Because she deserves to have a home, and you deserve to have your daughter back. The following weekend, Noah took Ellie to choose furniture. It was a completely different experience from when he bought things for her in his apartment. This time, every decision was made for someone else. My mom likes blue, Ellie said when they were choosing curtains. Then let's get blue. They bought a small kitchen table, a comfortable used sofa, beds, sheets, towels. Noah let Ellie choose almost everything. It was important that she felt part of creating that space. In the housewares store, Ellie stopped in front of the pots and pans. My mom knew how to cook, she said. Before, when we had a home. She will again. Do you think she'll remember? I think some things you never forget. When they finished furnishing the apartment, Noah sat on the new sofa and looked around. It was simple, but cozy. It had a sense of home that his luxurious apartment never did. It looks pretty, Ellie said, sitting beside him. It does. My mum will like it. She will. They were silent for a few minutes. Noah knew it was the last time they would do something like this together. The following week, Sarah would leave the center and come live there. Ellie would go with her. Noah, can I visit you? Whenever you want. And can you come here? If your mom lets you. She will. She likes you. How do you know? I know. And you're still my family too, right? The question made something tighten in Noah's throat. Always, he said. The move happened on a sunny Thursday. Noah helped Sarah and Ellie settle into the new apartment. Sarah was still fragile, but determined. Ellie was excited, running from one room to another, showing everything to her mom. This is my room, she said, leading Sarah to see it. Noah let me choose the wall color. Pink, Sarah smiled. It was always your favorite color. When everything was settled, Noah prepared to leave. It was strange. For weeks, Ellie had been his constant responsibility. Now he was handing her back to the person who truly mattered. Thank you, Sarah said at the door. For everything. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You don't need to repay me. Just take good care of her. Always. Ellie approached him. Bye, Noah. Bye, princess. She hugged him tight, then ran back into the apartment. Noah returned to his own apartment, and for the first time in weeks, found himself alone again. The place was just as it had always been, clean, organized, silent. But now it felt empty in a way that hurt. He walked through the rooms, noticing things he hadn't before. The absence of Ellie's drawings on the refrigerator, the lack of small clothes in the laundry room, the silence where there had once been laughter and conversations. It was as if a piece of him had returned to another place, and perhaps that was exactly it. The following Saturday, Noah was working in his office when the doorbell rang. When he opened the door, he found Ellie standing in the hallway, holding a folded paper. Hi, she said. Hi. Are you okay? Where's your mum? She's downstairs. She said I could come up alone to give you something. Ellie handed him the paper. It was a drawing. A house with 2 windows, a door, and 2 figures in front, one large and one small. That's us, she explained. In the new house. Noah looked closer at the drawing. There was something written underneath, in shaky child's handwriting. You're like my family too. Ellie, it's true. My mom said family isn't just about blood. It's about who takes care of you, and you took care of me. Noah knelt to be at her height. You're my family too, he said. Really, really, always will be. Ellie smiled and hugged him again. I have to go. My mum's making pasta for us. She remembered how to cook. She did, and it's yummy. After Ellie left, Noah put the drawing on the refrigerator. He looked at it for a long time. She was right. Family wasn't just blood, it was choice, it was care. It was wanting the best for someone, even when it meant letting go. And even though Ellie no longer lived with him, even though she was no longer his daily responsibility, she would always be his family. She would always be the girl who taught him what it meant to love someone more than himself. She would always be the reason he learned that life had meaning far beyond money and power. And she would always be welcome home. 6 months later, Noah had a routine he never imagined having. Every Wednesday, he left the office early and drove to Queens, not because he had to go, because he wanted to go, because Wednesday was the day Ellie waited for him with a smile at the window, and Sarah prepared tea for 3. On that particular Wednesday, Noah stopped at a toy store on the way. He had seen a 1,000-piece puzzle in the window and remembered that Ellie had said she wanted to learn how to do difficult puzzles. Tanhua! Ellie came running and threw herself into his arms. At 5 now, she was taller, stronger, but still fit perfectly in his hug. Sarah appeared from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel. She was different from the first days in the apartment. She had gained weight, her hair was cut and shiny, and there was a lightness in the way she moved that hadn't existed before. You're just in time, she said. The cake is almost ready. You didn't have to make cake. I know, but I wanted to. That's how it was between them now. Small gestures of affection that came not from obligation, but from genuine gratitude and affection that had grown naturally over the months. Sarah had found a part-time job at a children's clothing store. Noah continued to pay the rent, but now it was more of a family arrangement than charity. I brought you something, Noah said to Ellie, handing her the bag. When she saw the puzzle, her eyes lit up. 1,000 pieces. You remembered. After the snack, they settled on the living room floor to put together the puzzle. It was a landscape of mountains with a lake in the middle. Ellie insisted on separating all the pieces by color first. Noah, Ellie said at one point, do you have family besides us? The question caught him off guard. No, he said. You are my family. What about other children who don't have family, like we were before? Noah stopped fiddling with the pieces and looked at her. Are there other children sleeping in boxes or in parks? Yes, Noah said honestly. That's sad. You could help them too. Sarah got up from the sofa and came to sit on the floor with them. You know, she's right. When I was at the rehabilitation center, I met many mothers who lost their children because they had nowhere to live. That would be a lot of responsibility, Noah said. You have money for it, Ellie said with the brutal simplicity of children. You don't have to help everyone, Sarah said, but you could help some. Like you two helped me, Ellie added. What do you mean I helped you? You helped me. Ellie rolled her eyes. You gave us a home. We gave you family. Everyone helped everyone. That night, Sarah and Noah talked about the idea. Sarah knew the system from the inside. She knew what the real problems were, where the greatest need was. The biggest problem isn't money, she explained. It's lack of integration. Mothers are in one place, children are in another. No one works together to keep families united. Noah spent the following weeks researching, talking to social workers, visiting shelters. What he saw confirmed what Sarah had said. 6 months later, Noah was in front of a renovated building in Brooklyn, looking at the sign, Castles Without Doors Foundation. It was a name Ellie had suggested. Why castles? Noah had asked. Because every child deserves to feel like a princess or a prince. And why without doors? Because when you don't have a home, it's like all doors are closed to you, so we leave them open. The foundation started small. 5 apartments for families in transition, a team of social workers, a professional training program for mothers, a daycare for children. On opening day, Sarah and Ellie were there. Ellie carried a drawing she had made especially for the occasion, a building with many windows and a large open door. In front, dozens of small figures entering and leaving freely. It's for you, she said, handing the drawing to Noah. For you to put in your new office. He taped the drawing to the wall behind his desk. There was everything he needed to remember why he was doing this. In the months that followed, the foundation grew. More apartments, more families, more stories of new beginnings. Noah continued to visit Sarah and Ellie every Wednesday, but now he also spent Saturday mornings at the foundation. On one of those Saturdays, he was helping a new mother when Ellie appeared at the door. Hi, Noah. My mum came to bring clothes that don't fit me anymore. Ellie looked around the apartment. It looks like our apartment, when you helped us move. Do you like doing this? She asked. I like it a lot. Why? Because it makes me feel useful. You were always useful, Ellie said. You just didn't know it. That night, Noah received a call from Sarah. Ellie wants to talk to you. Hi, Noah. I just wanted to say good night. Good night to you too. Noah, thank you for finding me in that box. Thank you for being there to be found. After he hung up, Noah thought about how life had changed. A year ago, he was a man who had everything and felt nothing. Today, he had discovered that true wealth wasn't in how much you owned guitar, but in how many lives you touched. Ellie had taught him that. A 4-year-old girl who should have felt grateful to have been saved, but who, in fact, had been the one who saved him. She hadn't just found a family. She had created one. He didn't adopt Ellie. She adopted him, and he was never alone again. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.